Generative AI represents such a large shift in computing that it requires us to rethink how we are interacting with our customers. Here's where we're headed. Eventually, every website, the user interface, the drop-down menus, the choices that are made by the human with a mouse or a touch is going to go away. And it will be replaced by an avatar that will say,
hey everyone, I'm Scott Branley, and I'm here with my co-host DJ Sprague and our special guest today, Jim Sterne. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Honored to be here.
Yeah, Jim is he's a special, guy to me because we're both UCSB graduates, gauchos from Santa Barbara. But more than that, Jim is a real thought leader, godfather, if you will, of web analytics, attribution. He's written many, many books on the subject. He sold business computers to companies that never owned one in the 1980s. So a real pioneer in the digital space. He then consulted and keynoted about online marketing in the 1990s, founded the Marketing Analytics Summit in 2002, which is still going on, and co-founded the Digital Analytics Association in 2004. His 12th book, Artificial Intelligence for Marketing, Practical Applications, was published in 2017, so kind of ahead of its time. Advises companies on analytics, strategy, planning, and teaches marketers the ins and outs of machine learning and generative AI. His most popular workshops these days are creating a generative AI adoption roadmap and generative AI as a strategic power tool. It's a lot of stuff for one guy, a lot of highly intelligent stuff.
And that's the nicest way of calling me old I've ever heard.
Well,
I would say
you're older than me.
I would say an old nerd.
Old nerd.
Yeah, there we go.
So as you were selling computers, I was selling copiers, by the way.
Well, I guess let's start. How did you get into web analytics?
When I first saw the internet in 1993, when Mosaic came out, I was thrilled at the possibility and disgusted by what I saw, because the user interface was just horrendous. I mean, I'm all about customer centricity. I started out in customer service. I moved into sales. I moved into marketing. And it's always been, what are the needs and wants of the customer? And when I saw the potential of the internet and what it could do, but nobody was doing it, I was so frustrated that was the flag that I waved on keynoting. Look at this website and how horrible. All I want to do is fill in the blank and look at how many buttons I have to click and look how easy it is to get lost and look at the error messages. And I would get clients that way because they'd come up out of the audience and say, hey, can you come into the company and explain that to my boss? And then I, in 1998, came across a company called NetGenesis, a company that made something called web analytics. And I was completely and immediately intrigued because it wasn't just my opinion that your website sucks. We can measure how bad it is. And then we can measure how much it's been improved. So I got very excited about that and decided to start a conference, write a book, start a conference, start a professional association. It's like, let's measure this stuff. That led to learning more about statistics than I wanted to, but that opened my eyes to then later on machine learning. And that's what my artificial intelligence book was about. And now to generative AI. So the thread from selling Apple IIe's in a retail store all the way through to generative AI, it's pretty much a straight line.
That's fascinating how that's kind of evolved through your career too. Just watching where you started from and to where technology is today. It's just incredible.
Next quick question. So what are the most important things an e-commerce store should be doing regarding GA4 and managing their business through data analytics?
The most important thing about GA4 is understanding why you have it. Google Analytics in the beginning, well, it's free. So great, let's use it. And then you go to the homepage of Google Analytics and says, here are your numbers. Well, these must be the important numbers, right? It's like, no, they're the generic numbers. They're absolutely nothing to do with your business. They're just what Google imagines everybody wants to see. And then you have to start clicking around and looking through menus and slicing and dicing to figure out what you're looking at. When we moved from Universal to GA4, it was this fabulous opportunity that a handful of people actually took advantage of, which is reframing how we think about analytics. Instead of let's just capture every little thing we can and try to sew it together. Stop, take a step back, identify the events that you want to track. What's the first page they show up on? What do they click on? How far do they scroll? Did they put something in the shopping cart? Not absolutely everything you can, but what do you need? So that is a strategic question. When I first started consulting, people said, well, what should we put on our website? And I said, well, that depends. What are you trying to accomplish? And shockingly, that became a conversation about business model. What are we trying to tell people? Oh, it's a brochure. No, it's more than that. Well, we should have this on it. No, we should have that on it because we're trying to accomplish these things. No, we're trying to accomplish those things. And it would be an argument. Fast forward, Jim, what should we measure on our website? Well, I don't know. What are you trying to accomplish? Same conversation. So now with implementing GA4, most people did, oh my God, GA3 is going away. We got to slapdash, make it happen. The people who actually took a step back and said, okay, why are we measuring? What are we trying to measure? What are we trying to improve? Those will be the events we will identify as the data elements we want to collect. So in any kind of measurement, the most important thing is, why are you measuring?
And what can you do with it if you do measure it? Is it actionable data or is it just data?
Yeah. I mean, if the why is, I want to see how many likes I get, I want to know how many people showed up at my homepage. Well, great. But why?
Right. And where they go from there, and how much money do they generate, and right, what was the conversion path, or what was the bounce path?
And eventually, the final answer, the correct answer, is customer lifetime value, and that is that combination of cost of acquisition, margin of products sold, loyalty of customer. That's what matters, right? What is the profitability of each customer, and how do we unpack that backwards back to advertising? So if I say, why are you measuring? And the first answer they give is customer lifetime value, it's like, oh yeah, we can work together.
And a lot of people don't measure, but should. What is the first product or the one product that was purchased by those that created the highest lifetime value, right? You might have 100 products, but there's one product in particular that is connected to those customers that generate the highest lifetime value. If you know that, then obviously you can promote and push that product to generate more LTV from more customers. And then start to look at the profile of those people that did in fact buy that product. What's different about those people versus the people that didn't buy it? And what path do they take to find and buy that product, right? Those are a lot of questions that should be answered.
This is where we're moving from measurement to analysis. Analysis says you just identified two segments, people who purchased, people who did not purchase. But there's actually as many segments as you can imagine. So let's pick a practical number of segments, 10. Let's look at people. Where did they come from? How long did they stay? What did they do? How often did they come back? What did they buy? And cluster them and put them in 10 different buckets. And if we treat them differently, so for instance, the people in the upper end of the buckets, the happy big bucket, these people are 95% most likely to purchase. So don't put any friction in their way. Don't offer them any free shipping. They don't need it. Don't give them a 10% discount. They don't need it. You're just giving away margin. Boy, make sure that they get to the front of the line in customer service. And then the next bucket, well, maybe they need free shipping. And the next bucket is free shipping and a discount. And the next bucket is, we'll give you free stuff. You buy 3 of these, we'll throw in something extra. And then the other buckets are, these people are not buying, they're not profitable. Where did we get them? And can we stop advertising there, please?
Right. Let's get rid of those people. Exactly. It's almost derivative of the RFM, right? Recency, frequency, monetary value, and putting them into the right buckets, which then, of course, is a road to LTV. It's exciting stuff when you really dig into it, but you have to know how to measure it. And that's where GA4 comes in, right? GA4 is a very powerful tool if you know how to use it, how to apply it, what you're measuring, why, and what you're going to do with that data. And like you said in the beginning, that's a big missed opportunity. A lot of people just never set it up properly, and therefore they don't use it because they really don't get valuable information out of it.
So as an owner of a business, with your advice for me not to learn Google Analytics, how do I find a good analyst? What would be your advice there?
First of all, your advertising agency will give you reports. And that's like your 12-year-old writing their own report card. It's a little awkward. They're going to tell you that the work they're doing for you is terrific. So what's happened is there's a whole ecosystem of boutique analytics consultants, boutique analytics agencies. So I said it takes a village. They have put together a village and they work for lots of different clients. You need to match the agency with your business, and that's going to depend on size. So, and not size of the agency, but size of their clients. I'm thinking of one agency that has, I think, 7 people total, and their clients are major corporations, and they do heavy lifting, serious data science. I'm thinking of another agency that's 12 people, and they primarily deal with small and medium-sized businesses because they have very different problems. A large corporation has data scientists. They have a data center. They have plenty of money to throw at a problem. Smaller business, all kinds of different constraints. And what is the most important thing? It turns out to be a corporate culture question more than an industry question. So I would say that you go out, you find, first question, do you feel personally that you would rather deal with somebody local that you can take out to lunch and you can look in their eyes and you can have meetings, or that's not important, it's okay to work remote? There's a one dividing line. The next dividing line is any service you get referrals. So what is it like working with that agency? How proactive are they? Do you think that they are working on for your benefit, or are they just doing what you tell them to do? I want my external analytics agency to be proactive. I want them to come to me and say, hey, we just saw this thing. These numbers don't make sense. Can you explain what's happening? Or we have a hypothesis that this is what's going on, and we'd like to run that test. We'd like to figure out how we can optimize your goals against your budget. That's the kind of agency you're looking for.
And somebody's not buying your media. Somebody that doesn't have to get in the game with, running your ads. That automatically creates bias, right?
Yeah, that's great advice.
It's also my advice for advertising agencies. They should not hire analysts because, again, it takes a village. If you're an advertising agency of 30 people, 50 people, and you want to do analytics seriously, you have to hire another 10 people. That doesn't make any sense. You partner with a boutique analytics agency who can come in and work with you and for you with your clients.
So where is attribution headed? There's been a lot of talk, a lot of things going on. Where is it going, Jim?
Well, it starts with the great promise that we'll be able to capture all this information and it will tell us something that is impossible to know. And that is, did the billboard on the highway and the radio ad have an impact on sales? Did the banner ad that we put out on the internet and the social media posts that we make and the content marketing that we're doing have an impact on sales? The fact is, it's all of the above. And you can't know about the billboard unless you put it up in one territory and don't put it up in another geographic territory, and everything else remains equal, which it never does. So attribution is a pipe dream writ large, the hope, the dream. Now, when you take media mix modeling, which is top down, we spent this much in television, this much in radio, this much in digital, this much in print, and then look at it quarter to quarter, you learn things, provided you're spending millions of dollars on advertising. But the idea of being able to say this thing that we did had an actual impact on the result is extremely difficult. But people are trying to solve it left and right. So digitally, we can take the referral code, the UTM code from an inbound link. They clicked on that ad. They clicked on that mention. They clicked on that link in the blog post. That we can collect and over time can build a picture of what we think can happen. And then it's all about testing. What if we do a little bit more of this and a little less of that? And did it make a difference?
So it's more directional than exact.
Oh boy, you nailed it right there. All of it is directional.
Yeah.
When I first got into analytics, I was talking to my brother-in-law, who's a CPA. And I said, boy, the work that you're doing, it must be refreshing to have data that's so clear. You've got income and expenses and it's black and white. And he laughed for 5 minutes straight. And I said, why is that funny? He said, you know how much 2 and 2 is? I said, 4. He said, no. How much do you want it to be? That's what a CPA does, right? So even straight math is directional. And then we've got this weird total disconnect between what we imagine the computer is doing, which is tabulating, capturing, tabulating, calculating everything just so in a binary way. It's on or it's off. We're talking about human psychology. Why did they click there? You look at technologies like eye tracking, right? What were they looking at? And let's match up eye tracking with mouse movement. So they were looking up in this corner and the mouse moved over there, and then they clicked on that. And then they looked over here and they stared at that thing. That must be important. No. The thing they just saw was important. Their eye traveled over there while they were thinking about it. They weren't looking at it. They were thinking about that thing. Psychology, you can't. Yes, it's directional.
So you may have already answered this, Jim, but what should the e-commerce executive be focused on today?
Number one is customer centricity. Listen to your customers, ask them questions about their experience, but keep track of what's happening with generative AI. Generative AI represents such a large shift in computing that it requires us to rethink how we are interacting with our customers. Here's where we're headed. Like over the horizon, what's coming? Eventually, every website, the user interface, the drop-down menus, the choices that are made by the human with a mouse or a touch is going to go away. And it will be replaced by an avatar that will say, hi, welcome to the website. How can I help you? And it will be a verbal conversation. I'm looking for this kind of article in clothing, that size, this color. What have you got? Well, tell me more. What price range are you looking in? Is this for winter or summer? What is the color scheme? Can you take a picture of the color scheme of your wardrobe and upload it to me, please? That will be user interface. E-commerce people today need to start realizing that, thinking about it, so that eventually, and it's going to be all at once, companies will come along and saying, yeah, we have the technology to do that. How do you want to implement it? It's like, I haven't thought about it. I don't know, is the wrong answer.
So filters and sorting might be going by the wayside with AI taking over and basically prompting, asking the question, tell me what's your body type? How tall are you? What's your weight? Whatever, right? What climate do you live in? You live in the South? You live in the North?
Yeah. Tell me what your zip code. If you're willing to give me your zip code, I can tell you what the weather appropriate. Oh yeah, sure. Here's my zip code. Well, heck, I just handed over another data.
Mm-hmm. Right. Do you have any favorite brands or materials? Are you allergic to synthetics, wool? Right. Whatever.
Do you prefer cats or dogs? There is a point at which that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the people who are left-handed and live in this zip code and like dogs tend to buy more of this than more of that.
Right.
And so it almost doesn't matter what you're collecting as long as it is with full consent.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's going to be an interesting user experience. Talk about user centricity, right? If you can remove those friction points and filters and sorting and search bars are no longer relevant. It could be an option, of course, but if somebody wants to go the super verbal, easy route, just tell me what you're looking for and let me serve up 5 options. Scott, I think you've got the $1 million question today.
Yeah, I do. So at the end of our podcast, we asked the $1 million question.
I'm sitting down.
As an expert in your industry, what's one actionable strategy that you would recommend that could have the biggest impact for an e-commerce owner right now or an e-commerce brand?
Actually have conversations with your customers on the phone, asking open-ended questions. It's not a survey. It's not numerical. It's, do you remember what brought you to my website? What problem were you trying to solve? What solution were you looking for? What was your experience like? What do you wish we had that we don't have? What have you found on our competitors' websites that you like better? Can you think of anything that would help you recommend us to your friends? What could we do that would get you to mention us on social media? Open up the conversation and just leave it. Let them talk and talk and talk. And on the one hand, you'll get the emotional response. It's not on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 7 because, well, it's a 7. or it's a 7 are very different answers, but you'll also make customers for life. You're asking me my opinion? Ooh, you must respect me. So that's part 1. Part 2 is look at the confluence of what are your highest margin products and your highest lifetime value customers. And everything else that you do should be in support of those products and those customers.
It's $1 million answer for sure.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
That's a $2 million answer. What I love about that answer, Jim, is you are a hardcore data guy. And you've written many books about it. Obviously, you started the Data Analytics Summit and Association, et cetera. But you recognize the importance of emotion because emotion drives action. There's no action without emotion. And the fact that you're getting deep into the emotion behind what did you like? What caused you to come to our website? How can we do this better? What did you like about that? That's emotion. That's not quantifiable. That's not analytics. That's not attribution. That's getting inside the head, the true emotional drivers of what made something happen.
All the numbers will tell you what happened. None of the numbers will tell you why.
Yep, exactly. And that's what I love about that answer, because so many people get obsessed with the what. They never bother to ask why. Well, thanks again, Jim. We really appreciate it. And by the way, the contact information, we'll put that all in the speaker notes or the presentation notes. Thanks for joining us for another exciting episode, and we'll see you next time.